Hey man, how's it
Hello,
going?
my friend. Nice to meet you too.
Awesome. Can you tell us like your name, your project, what you're doing?
Okay, as a person, I am Phil Alex, like I'm co-founder of PRO Deligators Validator. Also, working deep down under the Cosmos ecosystem at several levels, like governance with the Cosmos initiative. Also working with several DAOs, Osmosis, Protocol Key DAO, newly created a Hydro DAO as well, and maybe future ones to come as well. So, let's say operating at a technical level, supporting the stack, decentralizing, executing chains, and so on.
I'm pretty familiar with all the validator
Yeah.
stuff. Can you tell us what is the most challenging part of being a validator?
Oh, that depends what the question actually is. If it is on the technical side of the equation, well, that's mostly for DevOps and SysOps. That's not necessarily my part of the job, so I'm not going to answer for them. Now, as a validator on the competition side and strategic side, there's lots to say, and I think, well, we're probably going to discuss that in further questions.
Which one of the upcoming projects excites you the most?
Of new projects, I think probably Mantra gives me a lot of interest, but I'm also having quite a lot of focus on existing projects that still need to develop quite a lot and grow their features. So yeah, I expect pretty much a lot. Yeah.
Why this in particular?
Oh, just because I think LWA wears a lot of interest in the real world kind of events, which are the things that I'm most familiar with. I mostly come from TradFi, so to me, well, I like the blockchain tech and innovation in general, but I also like to think things as hybridizing existing stuff. So whenever I see a connection with something that's already existing, I'm pretty damn sure it's already going to be marketplace. And like LWA definitely going to be one.
And from your perspective, which would be the hottest topic of the year 2025?
Oh, no doubt, interchain security. Like shared security in general. That's the hot topic everyone is trying to do now. Like every new token launching is trying to share security in whatever form that is. And that's something the Cosmos has been pioneering for years. So we finally have the product, and I think it's time to go to market.
And why it's important?
Why is it important? Well, long story short, banking infrastructure is basically selling security. It's just in a pretty different format, which is mostly based on trust. And I think that's exactly what we're changing in crypto. Removing that trust, building some more trusted code source kind of stuff.
If we are not only about tech here, but also for some fun, and have you had any airdrops from the Cosmos ecosystem?
Yeah, I bet it is. Been a hell of a mantra, by the way. So I would like to say I think this is pretty much overdue now. We've all enjoyed some of the past airdrops, pretty significant ones, of course. Question is, well, I think that's not necessarily the end game of it, like too many for whatever reason. I think more airdrops now are going to be heavily led to true activity, incentivization in all sorts of forms, and historic activity, which means to me, well, whatever you do on the chains now matters a lot because it leaves a fingerprint on whatever you actually are on the interchain. And so pay real attention to what you do.
Why has it changed?
Yeah, because that's just yet another narrative. These kinds of things are hyped up and go down just very quickly. Within the span of 6 months, we've seen the ups and downs of airdrops going to crazy, stupid valuation territories. And now we clearly see that every airdrop is failing significantly. So I think it's down.
Do you remember any funny story about the Cosmos?
Real funny story? Oh boy, we have so many of these. I mean, I would say Cosmos has hell a lot of a drama history, which I kind of like. It to me reminds me of the early days of the internet and just show the sign of huge decentralization, like true organic decentralization, not the kind of fancy stuff where we just look at the token supply and so on. So we have lots of conflicting interests, and that's the thing I like. So I like the dramas. I think we should embrace them.
We just discussed drama per second.
Yeah, actually, I think we have the highest, and that's also, like I said, one of the components that we figure out in a metric to say how decentralized an ecosystem is. If everything falls in line, that means someone is somewhat directing it.
What do you think? Why people should attend the real life conference?
Oh, for Cosmos, I mean, in general, crypto stuff, I bet people come to conferences to do networking and videos and stuff. I think Cosmos is a bit different. It's more of a developer-oriented stuff. I mean, I don't know what this year is going to be all about. Last year was definitely developer-oriented. And by that front, I would say this is just a bunch of people who don't know each other in real life, and actually having a lot of interactions with the internet. And just meeting in person feels great.
I think so. We definitely have to have some event where we can recharge and reconnect with all the
Yeah, exactly.
community.
Do the BD is really important. I think the human part of the equation still makes a lot in the equation.
Which feature of the hub, of the Cosmos, of the interchain stack excites you the most?
Definitely interchain security. In terms of, I mean, like I say, coming from traditional finance, I bear a lot of interest into the things that I understand that I can transpose into the crypto ecosystem. And well, sharing security is one thing that I get to learn a lot from past experience, and I think I can bring a lot of value into this kind of thing, as well as like treasury management and this sort of stuff that I'm going to be doing now with Hydro. So these are the things that excite me a lot, like turning the hub into an institution, a decentralized banking institution of some sorts, doing all sorts of regular banking stuff. And these are the values that I can bring to this ecosystem because I have knowledge into this, and transposing them into crypto is very interesting.
Tell us more about Hydro.
Well, Hydro, many people still, I think, don't really understand what this thing is going to be in the distance. And I had interesting discussions with many Cosmos projects just yesterday, really about that particular topic. And I think people yet don't understand it yet. My vision for this is, well, of course, nothing but a vision, so don't quote me on that one. But if you have to ask me whatever I think Hydro will be 2 years from now, I can say this is basically something that I know from TradFi, is treasury management. Which basically, there's all sorts of things you can do with treasury. Essentially bringing yield and just balancing risk to reward ratios. But doing it in a decentralized way is a first of a kind. So I can't tell you exactly what shape and form this thing is going to take. All I know is the services it's going to render for the hub is probably going to make it an insanely profitable kind of treasury management if done correctly, and I hope to be the ones who help making it happen.
I'm sure it's for the greater good.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, we have a lot of liquidity sitting idle or just being sent out for no compensation. These are the kind of things you never see in traditional finance. So this just couldn't stand out longer. So this thing had to happen anyway. I've been advocating for this for nearly a year, and I knew it would be.
All right, how many proposals do you remember?
Whoa, up until this day, that depends if you account for all the spam. And if you remove the amount of spam, if you remove the amount of dramas, and all the kind of signaling proposals and all sorts of stuff, I would say in terms of executive really proposals, there's probably something like 100, I would say so. And I don't have the entire history of the hub, like not necessarily the early days. I'm joining like somewhere in 2020 for myself, so 4 years in. Quite an experience still, but some have been here for longer. So I won't speak for them. I won't.
Which application you would suggest to try out for others?
What kind of application? Like general type application, like a wallet of some sort, or just an app chain?
Let's break it for like infrastructure, DeFi, or
Okay. I don't think Cosmos is actually made to compete in DeFi. I think DeFi is going to be a niche kind of thing forever because just the level of security depth isn't matched in the Cosmos. But we do bear a significant technical difference. It's the thing that I've been advocating for quite some time. It's we have certainly traded off decentralization compared to Ethereum. But that's for the greater good of having instant finality. That's something that Ethereum is significantly going to battle to try achieving and potentially not making it. So until then, that's the strength in the Cosmos. It means we can interoperate consensus seamlessly and instantly. Basically, so long as two consensus trust each other, we can do all sorts of fancy stuff. And that's the native pieces of the app chain. This means everyone is in this interconnected system, which everything tokens, whatever value, anything denoms, can transfer between chains seamlessly. So there's no way for anyone to capture value without bringing value to the ecosystem. You can just inflate your token away or do anything you can. But if you're trying to bring somewhat of a margin, profitable margin, you need to serve a real purpose and a real activity. So I think this is inherently the kind of ecosystem that will automatically flush itself. There's no way for things to sustain durably in the Cosmos without bringing actual real value.
Any project in mind which is really undervalued?
Yeah, interchain security. That's the most underrated product at the moment because that's probably the thing that I'm going to present a lot in Cosmos these days and try to get people to understand that I've actually released this thing into the Cosmos Hub forum. Basically, my vision is, well, interchain security is mostly a private kind of oriented sector kind of system, not necessarily to build endless numbers of public chain. Like we said, there is a limited amount of services you can render in the Cosmos, and you can't create them out of nowhere. But the thing is that the private sector bears a lot of interest in the Cosmos ecosystem, and I think they could gain lots to see just enterprise-grade Lego stuff or any all sorts of hybrid kind of consortium chain, ranging both public and private sector altogether. And I think Cosmos is well suited for these.
EVM or Cosmos?
Both. They're complementary. Like I said, the EVM brings the security depth that Cosmos hardly will ever match, and doesn't have to seriously. I mean, we're trading up the instant finality, which actually Ethereum needs badly, because otherwise it's just fragmenting ecosystem to L2s, and actually trying to achieve SSF isn't going to come without serious trade-offs. So there's definitely some challenges. My end vision is, well, these two ecosystems are bound to merge. There's no way this can happen otherwise, because there are certain trade-offs Ethereum can't make, and there are certain trade-offs Cosmos can't make. And both are incredibly complementary by such.
How it should happen? How it should happen?
Like I said, I think Ethereum bears the DeFi kind of stuff. When you need tremendous level of security depth, when things go finance and complex intermediaries and complex rehypothecation systems of some sort, this can hardly happen anywhere but Ethereum, because once you achieve Ethereum finality, you have to call data stuff, everything's public forever. And just so many people fancy about Ethereum but doesn't understand how really strong that actual sentence truly is. I mean, you have some data into some blockchain database that's going to be stored forever, or fucking ever. It's not going to be exactly the same for Cosmos chain. I mean, we can prune data points, and it actually makes the point that these can be much more economically efficient systems. So I think Cosmos goes into the efficiency, where Ethereum goes into the immutability, endlessly depth security, where Cosmos is horizontally distributed. Ethereum is the only verticality that I think can subsist in the ecosystem, because finance basically needs that verticality. One central point for verticality, but heavily, infinitely decentralized.
Well said. One phrase which could describe Cosmos.
Yeah, horizontally distributed. Endlessly open source, funded by public good infrastructure. So that means the stack itself will be somewhat maintained by the public sector. And it reminds me a lot of similarity that can happen with things like the early buildage of operating systems like Linux and all sorts of stuff like that. So these are the kinds of things that we need. I think that's the reason why I got into Cosmos. Straight out after Ethereum, basically. Once you get the Ethereum pieces, the next stage to dive deeper into the crypto rabbit hole is to understand Cosmos. And once you get it, well, there's no way back.
All right, thank you so much. It was very interesting.